What's good with y'all?
Well, I got hold on. Hello, everybody. This is the very first Brother to Brother podcast. This is the Brotherhood podcast. You know, these are my fellow brothers. You know, everybody do y'all greetings. You can start from here.
Hey, I'm going to start from the middle, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Greetings. My name is Stefan Crossi. I'm a senior student at Dr. Charter School and a potential brother of the distinguished young gentleman of the Brotherhood organization, hailing from the Northside Cultural Studio.
Bro,
I said general member?
you said potential.
Oh, wait, I said potential, bro?
Yeah, you said potential brother. Should we take his... Oh.
Y'all already did that. Like, bro.
Alright, you go.
Greetings, my name is Deontay Seraphin. I'm a general member of the Distinguished Young Gentlemen of the Brotherhood organization and a senior student at Dr. Charter School of Miami Shores, hailing from the multicultural city of North Miami Beach.
That was from
We're not starting now.
Yeah, we not starting now. Mr. Danes.
Greetings, my name is Danes Exantis. The secretary. Alright. My name is Danes Exantis.
Mr. Giggles.
That was our name. James, can you go please?
But finish your greeting.
I'm gonna save the best for last. James,
I'm going last, man.
James, can you go?
Alright, I'll do it last. Alright.
What you looking like that for, bro?
I'm kind of nervous, I ain't gonna lie. Greetings, I'm James Lesson, a senior student at Dr. Charter School of Miami Shores. I'm a general member of the Brother to Brother organization, hailing from multicultural city in North Miami Beach.
We just gonna have to keep the mic under you when we talk, you know what I'm saying? That stuff. No?
Alright, let me just go
Okay.
ahead and just read.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Stefan Crossi. I am a senior student at Dr. Charter School of Miami Shores and a general member of the Brothers to Brother organization, hailing from the multicultural city of North Miami.
Nice stuff. Alright, arguably the best for last, you know what I'm saying? Greetings, everybody. My name is Kendrick Jackson. I'm a senior student at Dr. Charter School of Miami Shores. And, you know, I'm the fashion icon, you know what I'm saying? Young billionaire, the young, you know what I'm saying, model, the, you know what I'm saying, the most loved, beloved Kendrick, you know what I'm saying, of the Brother to Brother organization. Alright? That's it for me, man. Alright, that's some figures, bro. Alright, so anyways.
My fault, bro. My fault.
Alright, so anyways, the topic we wanted to discuss today was mental health within men's community, or not men's community, but men's mental health within the black community. And we basically just wanted to talk about, you know, touch base on different topics like, you know, masculinity. What is masculinity? What is it to, like, what is a man, like, you know, and just different things of that nature. So to start off, first topic, just masculinity. Like, what are y'all definitions? Like, what if you had to, your image of a man, like, what is your image of a man if you had to paint it, like, and picture it?
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
For me, is what's been implanted in my head from like a young age was basically a person that doesn't really show that much emotion.
Yeah.
You understand? Like they're there for their family, but they're just emotionally, they're not that much vocal about it. So anything that might happen to them, they keep like the poker face and they're supposed to be okay with everything. That's just the way I see it.
Why you say like no, like someone that doesn't show any emotion?
Because I feel like what was portrayed to me was showing emotion was kind of a weakness. So if you did show it, that means you were feeling something. And feeling something, for example, like you can show happiness, you feel me? But if you're gonna be in front of everybody and you're gonna start crying, you're gonna get angry. To me, that's just, well, what they told me was that was just a form of weakness.
Yeah, that's actually crazy that you say that, because it's like I do feel like kind of like the same way. Like in today's world, men can't really be vulnerable. And it's like whenever we are vulnerable, it's kind of like you know, it's portrayed as a weakness. Oh, he's soft, or he's weak, or he's just not as like he's less. He's
That's
not,
man.
you know, yeah, he's less of a man because, you know, he's showing emotion and things of that nature. So I kind of get where you're coming from.
So do you see that as a bad thing, or how do you?
I kind of see it as a bad thing because it's like, that's why you see like a lot of people, or just men in general, are like a lot more depressed because it's like they don't really have like those outlets to open up. And it's kind of like, you know, when you don't have an outlet to express those feelings, you just internalize it, and it kind of just you know, gets out of hand. You know, and it's like people resort to negative coping mechanisms, and you know, yeah, what you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like what caught me about like what you said. When you say negative coping mechanisms, I want to go more in depth into that because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. What do you see as like negative coping mechanisms? Because you never know what. What I'm trying to say is like with negative coping mechanisms, when you word it that way, you like basically what I'm trying to say is like you never know like if that could be someone's way of like a positive coping mechanism. So you'll go more in depth into like what you mean by negative.
Well, for starters, like internalizing, I feel like a negative, like, cause, for instance, a negative coping. I'm gonna direct that to something else. So it's kind of like a negative coping mechanism would be one, internalizing things, or you know, some people they resort to you know, self harm, which is like the worst case scenario. It's like you never get to hear, you know, people never hear all like for instance when somebody does something crazy, it's like, oh wow, I never knew he was, you know, feeling that way, and it's like it's too late. People realize when it's too late, and it's kind of like I feel like, for instance, like in my personal experience, like in my lifetime, you know, I'll say something, right, or I'll how do I word this, like, so you all know like something, you know, kind of crazy happened last year, right? And sometimes, you know, I talk about it every now and then, you know, and it's kind of like, I understand where other people come from, where it's like, yeah, bro, you know, move on or just get over it. But it's kind of like when something like that happens, bro, and it's like, so I just feel like some people, they just need somebody like to talk to, you know? And it's like, a lot of people don't have that. And it's like, whenever they do talk or open up, it's like, bro, get over it. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
Like, move on. Whereas, you know, if anybody else were to do it, it's kind of like, it's expected. It's like, oh yeah, come here, you know, like, it's okay. And I feel like, you know, it's not like that for Black men specifically, you know, just growing up in a way, you know, just like the way we're stigmatized, or like the stigma that we have in the media, it's kind of like we don't really always have like that outlet, and we're not. What about you?
Yeah, one thing I be thinking is that the main issue when it comes to how men are in the Black community is that, well, the odds are already stacked against us, right? We already know the stereotypical Black person seen as violent, and that's been a stereotype been, you know, portrayed as for us, and now stereotype of a man is also violent, so we already have those odds stacked against us. So we're forced to fulfill these roles that they force men to be in, to be the provider, to keep our responsibility, like you said, be emotionless. And like you said before about negative coping mechanisms, is that most men, since they're taught not to have these emotions, the number one solution for them is to get rid of these emotions, which is either by self-harm or substance abuse. You could probably see men tend to abuse substances more on average than women, because these substances give you,
It's like an escape.
Yes, it makes you feel as though these emotions are not there. Sadness, anger, these emotions are just gone, but it's only just a temporary fix. Then, as you know, the emotions will get stronger, you need more, and then they tend to overdose, which, you know, again leads back into self-harm.
Yeah.
And another issue when it comes to men is that, like I need to go more in depth into this. It's the roles we're given as to be the provider. We're taught to give, always give. You know, like the stereotypical role of a nuclear family. You know, a man family and a woman she provides at home. Okay, but see that I feel like nowadays it's kind of hard to keep that going. You know, today is more complex than that. It's a bit more different. You know, both could be the provider. You know, it's more complex than that. But since we're taught this from the older generation, we're forced to keep this going. We're forced to, I have to provide, I have to give, and I don't really have to take as much. Which, you know, when you give so much, you don't take any, you're gonna self-destruct. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
So that's really my thought of it on it so far. What's your thoughts?
One main thing I want to talk about is opening up. So like, when men open up, we try multiple times to do it, to like, probably like our girlfriends, moms, dads, or whatever that is. So like, when we open up and we get shut down, we've done it multiple times, so like, we got used to it, so we just give up, right? Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that's her. That's pain.
At that point, we just stopped showing emotion.
Yeah.
We're just there.
It's like I realize, especially when it's like when somebody breaks your trust. It's also also a different thing. So it's like personally, like for instance, like let's just say you really trusted somebody, right? And it's like you open up to them and you tell them things. You basically you become vulnerable. And it's like you turn around, right? You just turn around. You just like you hear some crazy. So it's like, dang, like, I really trusted you, and you just turn around and just did that, like the same exact thing I, told you I was feeling some type of way about. It kind of hurts, bro. It's kind of crazy, but it is what it is. I wanted to talk about like what do you guys like some like basically like healthy ways to cope with like those dark emotions, right? So like all of us here to touch base because we're all like artists, you feel me, like and things of that nature. Like I see
With you, not only is a like what's it called? Say for instance, I want to touch base on that when you were like, oh, not like we're all artists. Like those are coping like positive ways.
Yeah.
Because like it's not all like the thing is our problems we can't always voice it.
Yeah.
So we resort to like doing like hobbies that we like. For instance, it could be photography, fashion design, and whatnot, making music, drawing. It could be a bunch of all that like. Like, like both of y'all fashion design, so I was like, I'll point at both of y'all. But yeah, it could be all of that. And then, me personally, like this year, like 12, like when I say this year, I'm talking about like senior year. What I've been doing mainly, that's like more on the more positive side, and it's not like drawing, is basically going to the gym.
Yeah.
And whatnot. Basically, like, cause like if I'm being honest, before I didn't go to the gym just for like my body improvement.
Yeah.
Like if I was like angry, like real angry that day, or if it was a messed up day for me, I just go to the gym, and then I'll feel incredibly better after, if I'm being honest. Cause why am I going to be angry? Like, why am I going to carry that?
Yeah.
I caught myself. I'm like, why am I going to be angry if I could just go ahead and solve it with just a couple push-ups? You already know, man. Bicep curls and whatnot. And then after that, that's when I realized, I could really go far with like just going to the gym in itself. Cause like like one day, just like looking in the mirror, like I caught myself. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like when you walk outside, I know you like.
I'm like, whoa.
Hold on, bro.
The thing is with that, it's not only good for your mind, but like you said, it's also good for your body. For me, you walking in the mirror, you're like, damn.
Like
It's mind because mind and body's connected. If your body's looking good, that's the thing though. With people who are like, at least I can speak from my experience. When I was feeling like low key, a little depressed last year, it all started with my body, bro. Like I started getting, in the gym, working out and whatnot. And once I started looking right physically, bro, that's when all the mental came in, like the confidence came in. I felt more confident. I felt, you know what I'm saying? I was like, bro, nobody can tell me. And that happened over the summer, like, because I remember last year, I kind of struggled with like, just not having like really like, I'm not gonna say all that, but I kind of struggled, with feeling like sure of myself, if that makes sense. And it's like over the summer, getting in the gym, working on myself, it's like, I feel like, it's a confidence thing, It's like nobody can tell me anything at this point in time. The way I am, like, I feel good, and I kind of want to tie that into fashion, right? So fashion is kind of like how I cope, with my, feelings and like emotions and whatnot. Because it's like people, I know people joke around and be like, "Yo, Kendrick, what are you wearing, bro?" But it's like the way I dress, like, I use fashion to say things that I can't say with words. Because like, I make music, right? But it's like I can't really always paint how I'm feeling with words or just music, right? But fashion is that way, is my, that escape that I have to, basically say how I'm feeling. So it's like when I put on, a shirt, right, or a pants that I made, in my backyard, it's like, I made this, right? And when I made this, I felt this way. And this is how I want to feel when I wear this, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why, there's just, I don't know. What y'all think though?
See, I was gonna say that, like overall, say with fashion, with working out, it's all about taking any type of energy, even like, if you're feeling depressed, taking that energy, not throwing it away, just tunneling it towards something else. Like for example, me, last year, had a, you know, I had a little bit of situation too.
Like, we all had
We all had that situation.
We all had a situation.
We all had the
We can't
situation
lie.
last year.
Edward, please report to the front office. Your parents is here.
I'm saying 2 for 2 right now, bro.
Okay, but like, you know, we all had a situation. I made us feel some type of way to be sad, angry, but whatever. But you take that energy. For me, I put it towards. Last year, I used to be like, y'all remember how I used to live last year. So of course, I started going to the gym. I started work. You can ask him. The work hours I put in last year were astronomical.
That boy was working every
not
single
gonna lie.
day.
I
Hey,
did
Beyonce,
hear-
where you at? That boy, bro, you
I
look at the
heard
map.
about you. I heard about him.
Listen,
bro. I heard about you.
You look on the map, Life 360. Where Beyonce? He had work.
I was employed of the month for like half that year.
Listen,
That's how many
you
times
know-
they saw me.
Yeah, but when the money come in,
And yeah, but when the results come in of anything, is looking better, making money, you know, getting that one for me, you know, getting a photo that looks nice, I work on it, you know, I think creating something. When the results come in, your mental state, it just becomes, you know, uplift yourself, and then everything else goes along with it.
It's like seeing the result. It's like motivation when you see the fruit of your
crazy.
Labor.
labor. Yeah. So it's like you spend 6 months watering this plant,
And
and it's like,
and you're like, you made that.
and it bears fruit. When you see that fruit, you're not like when you see that fruit. When you see that fruit, it's like, yeah. I think. You know, I'm gonna continue watering this, and along the way, I may plant a few more seeds. You know, just to get that extra feeling. You feel me?
That's another thing too. I feel like
Plant more seeds, man.
you know,
Save the earth.
when you
We're trying to get that endorsement, bro.
Try to get that endorsement. No, get it.
I say about when you start working on yourself, like what matters most is just getting up and doing it. It doesn't matter how it could be something astronomical. It could be something small, like, you know, let's say you were so depressed, you got that situation was so bad, you couldn't even get out the bed for like a whole day straight. Getting out the bed, cleaning up your room, that's something. Then you keep going from there.
It's
As
the little
long as
things.
as long as you better than you was the last few seconds, last day, or as long as you better than you was before, that's good enough. Then you'll keep growing. It's only exponential as long as you stay consistent.
That's discipline, though. It takes discipline.
That's discipline for
You
sure.
know, one thing that my brother always tells me is like, because people, you know, when it comes to self-betterment, people like get discouraged by, you know, by their goals and setting unrealistic standards or goals for themselves. So what you gotta do, you just gotta make sure, you know, you're 1% better than the person you were yesterday. If you always, you know, if you make an effort to be 1% better than you were yesterday every single day, by the end of the year, you'd be 365% better than the person you were at the beginning of the year. So it's like, if you, like Beyonce said, just start off small, you know, make sure, you know what, I didn't do the dishes, let me go do the dishes. I didn't do this, let me go do that. Just 1%. Start off small, you know, and just build up. And that takes discipline.
Yeah, low key, my fault.
Offend anybody off, I wanted to add on to that. Like, I really relate to that as well because there's something that actually is like a symbol. It's like a symbol of kanji that I wanted to get tatted on me for a little bit, if I'm being honest. It's called the Kaizen. It's that's literally what that is. It's called it's like no matter how much you do and whatnot, it's not like it's about being unstoppable at the end of the day because all that matters is like you not stopping and whatnot.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah, it's called Kaizen. That's what that is. And I feel like I live by that because like piggybacking off what both of you guys said, it's like, bro, you can't stop no matter how hard or grueling, angering like the process is. You just gotta keep going because watch, it's all gonna matter in the long run. Despite like how you feel in the moment, you just gotta think of the future. Like, bro, if you keep doing this, if you keep doing that, if you keep watering that plant, if you keep getting up, I'm telling you, bro, it's gonna matter in the long run.
It's all gonna come together.
One thing I want to bring back up is what you said. What we was talking about before about men's mental health. Do you feel like men is like misunderstood because of the way that we've been portrayed for so long?
You know, yes. And let me bring up an example. Kanye West. Let's talk about it. Listen, let's talk about it. No, let's talk about it. Kanye West is the perfect person to talk about because Kanye West is a perfect example of just the story of the black male in America, right? So Kanye, he's self-made. Self-made. A lot of people can say that, and a lot of people can see that he's self-made. Like, he went from nothing to being literally a billionaire, right? And having like multiple endorsements by a lot of different, and just a lot of partnerships, right? So as soon as like you ever like black men start to show any sign of feeling something other than anger and just anything of that nature, they're crazy, right? So with Kanye, the man literally, I mean, yeah, maybe he was doing the most. I wouldn't say he was doing the most because maybe he was a little extra during the divorce with what he did. But it's like you gotta realize that's the mother of his children, right? And it's like just like he literally has kids; those are his children, right? And it's like he feels some, he feels hurt, right? And he's expressing his hurt. And it's like we got people on social media. Kanye West is crazy. Oh, Kanye West, he needs mental whatever. And it's like whenever black men show anything, whenever it's like we deviate from like the status quo, we're crazy or we're just we're an abomination almost, right? And it's like, what was your question before?
Do you think misunderstood?
Yeah, I feel like we are most definitely misunderstood. And it's kind of like bringing it back to like the assignment we all had to do from I'm Not a Single Story, right? And it's like black men, we have a single story, like Deontay said, the drug dealer, the prison, what do you call that?
Gangster.
Yeah, gangster, or in the streets. Like that's our single story. So it's like, and I kind of find it interesting. I don't know if you guys remember. I think Stefan was there when we were talking about, or she was talking to me about like how she thinks I'm like, I'm just a smart student. I'm great. I'm this. I'm all of that. And it's like, yeah, you may think I'm this smart person who's very ambitious, and motivating or whatever. But at the end of the day, let's just say one of these days I'm driving too fast, right? And I get pulled over by a police officer. All of what you just said is going to go out the window because all they're going to see is a Negro, right? That's what they're going to see. They're not going to see a scholar. They're not going to see that, National Honor Society student. They're going to see a Negro, right? So, and it's kind of like, that's just what it is with America. Like, they don't see, and it's like, I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but it's kind of like, I related this back to my, just the way I express myself with fashion, right? Even with y'all, I express myself the way, I don't, the way I dress, like the way I carry myself isn't, how black men usually carry themselves or how black men usually dress. So it's like when people see that, like look at the shoes I'm wearing. I'm wearing pink Air Forces, right? So it's like people see that and it's like, oh yeah, something wrong with that nigga, right? Something wrong with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? I got dyed hair. There's something wrong. Like I cut my eyebrows. There's something wrong with him, right? So yeah, I do think we're misunderstood. I do think we're misunderstood.
But the problem that I wanted to bring up was, it's not only the government and all the other people that's against us. I feel like we're against each other also. Because, for example, Deontay, you do photography. If you pull up in the hood with a camera and be like, oh, let me just take a picture of you, somebody gonna be like, yo,
Get that thing off my face.
get it off my face.
Yo,
That's your last photo.
You ever see this, bro? You ever see the TikTok where it's like, well, black people will roast you for anything,
They won't
bro.
roast you for anything.
Yo, look at this man. He in school. He's studying, bro. He got an A+, bro. He want to do something with his life, bro. What he doing?
That boy got his diploma, bro. He
Bro,
walking that stage.
He got a diploma,
Bro, look at this man. He got a diploma, bro. Like,
He want to call it.
Come on,
Yo.
you making money and you not scamming? Get him out.
bro, I'm saying, bro, this not working a job, bro. Get him out, bro.
He
Like,
making bread. He making a living for himself.
I'm saying, bro supporting his family, bro. Like, this is
Like,
crazy.
If we're not if we're against each other just because of that, what is the world gonna do to us?
And that's the thing. I feel like, bro, that's why I feel like we need to be educated. Because, like, just like you said, like, bro, when I first started making music, I understand it was terrible, right? We all know it was terrible. Like, but it's like, all right, so it's like, bro, I understand it was terrible, right? But the thing is, the point I'm trying to make, whenever, black people, I feel like whenever black people see other black people doing something different, or it's not different, just creative, anything creative, it's like we try and bring them down. It's like we're always bringing each other down. And it's like, I had this talk with James Lee, it's like an ego thing, bro. We can never work together. I'm kind of victim to this mindset. I'm trying to work on it. But it's like, whenever we walk into any space, it's like, oh, I have to be king. I have to be the top dog. I have to be this. I have to run this. And it's like, I feel like that sort of egotistical thinking is what stops us from getting far in life, right? Because it's like, when you look at any other race in America, right, they're all together. Like, I remember there was a story about, like, I hope I don't get canceled for this, but it was like a Chinese restaurant, right? And, like, they ran out of rice. So what they did, they went to the next door, like their, I guess you could call it the competition, asked for rice, and the person gave them the thing of rice. And it's like, you would never see that at a black restaurant. Oh, you ran out of rice? Oh, that's your fault, bro. You know what I'm saying?
More rice.
You should buy more rice. That's on
tough,
you.
bro.
That's tough, right? It's like, we never support each other. It's always, oh, this man trying to make a living for himself. Let me knock him down. Like, let me bring him down to my level.
We gotta stay over here.
Yeah, it's like, no, I don't want you going anywhere. You're going to stay right here in the bottom with me, right? And it's like, we just got to work together because it's like, we're all talented, right? If we work together and make those talents, you know, put them together, we could get so far. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like one big thing, the reason why we don't help each other or why like we're not succeeding as much as we know we can, us as a community, because you gotta look at the past too. They're like the civil rights fight. First of all, they took they're separate groups. You had people who followed MLK, people who followed Malcolm X, the Black Panther, Nation of Islam, all that.
Oh, yeah, it started
They,
with like,
first of all, they were separated, but they had the same idea. What the people outside of that would do is that they would try to pin us against each other. You know, MLK was more peaceful, Malcolm X was more radical. So they say, oh, you know, you got to get rid of X. You know, he's gonna ruin everything for you, right? And another thing too, right? MLK Day just passed, right? Now, I respect Dr. King because of what he did for us as African Americans. One thing I don't like is that they praise Dr. King so high and they don't praise any of the other radical groups.
Yeah.
Because they want us to keep us submissive.
That's
They don't want
exactly,
us to
that's
to
true.
know. They don't want us to be stronger. They don't want us to work together or like go against the government as violently as possible. Even in modern day, anytime there's like an angry uprising, that's why I call it uprising. They say, oh, it's a riot, oh, they're stealing this, that, and yeah, okay, I can't lie, say there was damage done, and that damage should not have been done. But it's just a reaction to what you're doing to us. But they try to demonize any type of black uprising so they can make it seem like, oh, you see, you can't be doing this, bro. That's not the status quo, like you said. Move outside the status quo is dangerous. They try to, snuff the fire out. So does it burn? We're trying to burn down the issue. They don't want to snuff the fire out so the issue can keep going. You get what I'm trying to say? So
yeah.
But what you just said, that's the connection with the human, like the black emotion. Excuse me. Like you said, our reaction to something, they're like, whoa, you're reacting this way. Why are you reacting this way? For black men, if we react some type of way, whoa, why are you reacting this way? If we react differently from the way that we're supposed to react, you understand? They're gonna be like, whoa, why are you making music? Why are you doing art? You're supposed to be angry, punch something.
But that's the thing, though. That's the thing. Words matter. It's like, I feel like we have to stop. I also feel like, I could start doing this, but we have to stop reacting and start responding. There's a difference between reacting to something and responding to it. So reaction is like, more explosive. Like everybody, like let's say some BS happens, right? Everybody's gonna expect us to react and explode and act impulsive on it. But it's like, we have to, kind of like what Miss Sandra was telling us earlier, or telling me earlier, we have to learn when and when not, to speak, and like when it's okay to speak and when it isn't. Like, we have to work on listening. And I kind of wanted to go back to what you were saying. You were saying something about Malcolm X and how like the media. I really want to speak on that too. So, yeah, it kind of it really did start way back then, because even when you saw like Malcolm X giving his speeches, whenever he would address Dr. King, right, he would say, this peaceful Uncle Tom Negro, wants us to be submissive, wooty wooty woot. And it's like, they were very, obviously Malcolm X was a little bit more radical. Like when the bombing at, what was the name of the church? It was in when the girls died.
yeah, it was the church bombing.
Yeah, like Malcolm X, he was really angry about that. It was like, Dr. King, he was preaching peaceful protests, but Malcolm X was like, man, I'm forget all that. I'm trying to, like, bro, like, that's why you see, like, in the Nation of Islam, like, they preach, or like their code of conduct is kind of like, never to start trouble, but if trouble comes your way, squash that trouble. And that's kind of like what they, preached. And with Malcolm X, it's like, you really saw that. You really saw that in him. But you also said something about the media. So the media, right? The media representation of like black people, like, this is something I was just having a conversation with Hannah the other day. If you saw like on Instagram, they were everybody's reposting videos of the founder of the Black Lives Matter movement, like her cousin. She was he was tased to death by the police officers, and it's like, yeah, I feel I'm sorry, but it's like, why did when I saw that, the only thing that came to my head was, why did I have to see this? What was the point of me seeing this? And it's like, in social media or just media in general, anytime you see black people, it's either us in drama or it's us in a submissive mode. Like, we're always the victims. We're always, and it gets me, I'm not happy when like, I'm not happy whenever I see that we're victimized. Like, even, I love Mr. But even in his lessons, when he's talking about poor people, right? And he's like, oh yeah, poor people, who are poor people in the United States? Black people, right? But it's like, when you look at statistics, like black people only make up, okay, I'm not gonna name random numbers, but we don't make up, we're not the majority. If anything, we're the minority.
13% of the population.
13% of the entire population of the United States of poor people consists of black people. But why is it that on the media we're portrayed as, oh yeah, like for instance, whenever a Democrat is like doing something, right? In terms of like for black people, right? Oh yeah, stimulus checks or whatever. It's like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they push the poor agenda onto black people.
Mm-hmm.
They push the submissive agenda onto black people, the victim mindset onto black people.
Yeah, but we take and we take. And they're gonna keep giving and giving. So what do you think that we're gonna do?
I feel like it all starts with education. I know people say, everybody has their different views on college and going to college, but honestly, in the real world, respect isn't gonna, like, people without degrees aren't given respect. Like, even if you look at those, like those famous people like Kai Cenat, right? For instance, remember there was a video he posted when he was kicked out, when he was moving out the AMP house, right? And like he was recording his neighbors, and she was like, oh yeah, and he was just like, man, I'm rich, I'm this, woo, I got money, right? And then she's just like, well, yeah, in 5 to 10 years, we'll see if we'll be having the same conversation. And it's like, yeah, that was real messed up for her to say, but she kind of had a point, right? People, no, she didn't have a point. I'm saying like, she's proving my point. People without degrees aren't respected. So yeah, you can do all this extra stuff. Like, let's just say you do want to be a YouTuber or anything of that nature. I say still go to school, and get an education, a real education, because we will never be able to change anything. Like, we can't finesse a system. You can't cheat at a game you don't know how to play yet. You have to learn how to play the game first before you cheat at it, right? It's like walking in the chess and trying to move the pieces around. You don't even know how to move them, so how you gonna cheat? But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say on that.
But not gonna lie, when it comes to the education in the black community too, I feel like, again, they fear that. And we could tell that because, for example, look at, like I said, we're going back when we mentioned Kanye West.
Yeah.
And not even just Kanye. When Kanye West, when he said something, yes, some of the stuff I understand you disagreeing with, but most of his ideas come from black empowerment. But they try to snuff down the whole idea and as whole. Other artists like such as Kendrick Lamar, very known well for his black empowerment. You can see in the media they say, oh, Kendrick Lamar, he's creating a dangerous ideology for black people. They say Kendrick Lamar's music is more dangerous than, what was it? Oh, they said Kendrick Lamar's music has done more damage for the African American community than racism ever could.
Who said that?
It was on a news report.
Don't get me started, man.
Bruh. Was it Fox, bro? Was it Fox?
I don't know. I thought
Don't
it
get me
was
started.
Fox.
Y'all know how I feel about Kendrick
Just
Lamar.
real quickly, I was gonna say, like that's modern time. Even in past times, like I mentioned, Malcolm X and Fred Hampton. He was one of the leaders for the Black Panther Party, a very well-known group.
Yeah.
He had a college education and he was an orator. He knew how to speak.
Yeah.
So he took his points. He didn't yell it out. He made good points. He spoke it out perfectly, clearly, concisely, to the point where you can't disagree with it. He's making it clear as day. What did they do to him? They killed him instantly. His house was loaded with over 90 bullets and no guns were fired back. While he was sleeping, while his pregnant wife was in there, they did anything to snuff him out. They fear educated black men, and black women, and they fear educated African Americans in general.
Listen, well, we're a little short on time. I'm gonna leave you guys with a few thoughts. The pen is mightier than the sword. History, to understand our future and to understand the society we live in today, we have to look back because history does repeat itself. And they call it his story for a reason, you know what I'm saying? They call it his story for a reason.
I ain't gonna lie. You might have some females watching this, but his story for a reason.
It's
right?
his story. Listen, their story for a reason. We're all inclusive over here. Other than that, that was it.
Thank you.
Thank
y'all
you
for tuning in.
You know what I'm saying?
We appreciate y'all time.
I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? If y'all boys gonna follow me on Instagram, should have got some messages.
Okay, bro. You just go plug yourself, bro.
Only yourself is crazy.